people, welcome back to another episode of Conversations with Jen, where we are here to have inspiring conversations to educate people and spread awareness of sickle cell. Now, today's guest is someone that I can't wait to talk to. Vashti, please introduce yourself to the people, then let them know who you are, what you do.
So, I'm Vashti-iona Beckford, and I actually usually start off by telling people that I sell time, which is very intriguing for people and very mysterious. But I'm an executive assistant who works with a lot of content creators and different community leaders in order to create tangible change.
I like that. You know, when you said time, I thought you meant the herb.
No, boy! I
was like, you sell time?
No, I got my little garden somewhere, yeah.
Okay, I like that. So you're someone that I could be working with potentially in the future as well.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, we're all made it. We've always room for progress. Now, I know you because of the work that I do and some of the areas that I've seen you in, which are relating to sickle cell. You do a lot of raising awareness for sickle cell and particularly encourage people to donate blood, right? So I know that that's something that I've seen you do, but what's been your connection to sickle cell? Like, how did you get to that point? Because you don't have the full-blown
I don't
condition.
have SS or SC, no.
Okay, so you a carrier? Are you like, tell me about how you got into this field.
So I'll actually take it back to when I was a child. So I'm 40 and... Okay. So when I was 11, I broke my arm. You know, we're kids, ramping, playing. Me and my sister wanted to go outside to sunbathe. And I was fussing around, trying to get my shorts, getting excited. I missed a step in my house and I dropped. But I didn't drop fully down the stairs. I dropped into another room and broke my right arm. And at that point, I went into hospital, obviously. And when I went to the hospital, I was quite tall as well. I'm quite tall now, as you know. So when I was younger, I was quite tall as well. And they were like, how old is she? My mum was like 11. And they were like, okay, she's a bit tall. So they weighed me and they did a blood test. And at that point, that was for anaesthetic to see, you know, how much anesthesia they should give me. And that was when I found out that I had a sickle cell trait.
Okay.
When I was 11 years old, yeah. My aunt, my mum's sister, she has SC. So I've always known about sickle cell, but not really understood the intricacies of it, what kind of causes it. Definitely didn't know anything about probabilities and all that kind of stuff. I just knew that I carried a trait. I was always told by doctors that A, you can't donate blood because you've got a trait, and B, don't worry about the trait, it doesn't affect you, you'll be fine. Fast forward a couple of years, you know, going back and forth to Jamaica, always seeing my aunt, making sure she was okay. And then over the years, I've known she's had quite a lot of different things happen, hip replacement, loads of different things happening. Some to do with sickle cell, some she might not attribute to sickle cell, but it's a catalyst. And so there's many other things that would happen because it's in the background. And the last... the blood transfusion, I think that was 2011 or 2010. I can't remember, but it was around that sort of time. And it might have been a bit earlier because I was in Jamaica for a couple of months in 2011.
Does your aunt live in Jamaica?
My aunt lives in Jamaica, yeah. She's over here now. She's recently come back. But at that point, when she had the blood transfusion, we was basically going to lose her. And I had called her the day of because my spirit just said, you need to call her. And I called her and I could hear she wasn't well. But, you know, obviously with yourself, pain management, you try to do as much as you can and you kind of think that you're okay. And it just wasn't working for me and I wasn't reassured. Nothing was reassuring me. And I was like, you need to get to the hospital. Obviously, there's fees involved in that. There's a number of things. And I'm like, look, whatever it is, we can just cover. I need you to go. I called my uncle, said some words and was like, you've got to get her into the hospital. And at that point, it was almost like, yeah, she might not make this. My mum and my aunt, they went over afterwards. And there was just a lot of things that took place after that I just didn't really understand. Obviously, the way that the NHS deal with sickle cell over here is completely different, because it's not something that is as common as it is in areas of Jamaica where Caribbean and African people reside. And at that point, I just didn't understand why much more couldn't be done. And then I started doing a bit more research. I started speaking to my friend Kenny, who runs Sickle Can. And me and Kenny just started doing ideations and just talking about certain things. He was doing some work with NHS. And he was like, Vash, they need you over there. They need you to come in and just like start asking a bit more questions, and let's start getting to what the solutions are. And that's kind of like, I mean, it's a long-winded segue, but that's kind of how I got into even understanding it. The impact of, so you've been impacted by sickle cell by kind of your aunt, and am I right in saying like the transfusion helped? She's good. Did she have it in Jamaica? She had it in Jamaica. Right. At the time that she had it, and I could be getting some information wrong, because it was quite a while ago now. We've had a couple of conversations. But at that time that she had the transfusion, it wasn't meshing.
Right.
So from what I was told by a family member, the doctors were kind of like, look, we can make you comfortable.
But that's it.
But that's kind of all we can do, because it doesn't look like you're going to make it. I think some of her organs were starting to fail. Some of the things that she was saying to me is like, it's not connected to sickle cell. I don't have an opinion on that, because I myself don't have full-blown sickle cell, but I understand how the body works and the biology of things. And it's like, if one area is in a deficit, it's another area is going to have to like compensate in order to fix that. So after a while, my mum and my aunt was over there, and she did start getting better, so she is still alive. And she's
I didn't want that to be like not a nice ending, but I'm glad.
She's in her late 60s now. She's still going. She's absolutely beautiful. You know, she's a trailblazer. She's such a strong, independent woman, and I love her very much. You know, she's like one of my second mums. Obviously, she still has complications, but she's doing okay.
I love that, because I feel like there's this stigma, and we're going to dive more into like blood donation, but there's so, I spend a lot of time in Jamaica.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't tell.
Got the skin glowing. But yeah, I spend a lot of time in Jamaica, and my haematologist over here has said to me on multiple occasions, if you ever get sick, you need to try and get back. Don't have blood over there, this, that, and the other. Like, I feel from being over there and spending so much time over there, I do get this sense of feeling that, because people would say that Jamaica is a third world country, although I don't like that term, and it definitely is not with all the things I see.
Or developing countries, they say.
So because they say things like that, they just expect that the healthcare isn't there, the knowledge isn't there, the treatments aren't there. But you sharing that story that, your aunt perhaps wasn't going to make it, she had a transfusion, with care and input, family, etc. She made it. So it's like, as long as you've got the right basics, you can still survive anywhere in the world.
Absolutely.
So I kind of just love that. So your kind of, let's say, entry into blood donation and working with the NHSBT was off your own back. You just thought, let me see.
Oh, absolutely. I just was like, it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, I don't have sickle cell disease myself, but what am I doing to support and solve this problem? Because I know a number of people with sickle cell. My background is also youth and community development, so that was what I did my degree in. I used to work in schools. I was head of Key Stage 4. And in one of the schools that I worked in, the nurse was just oblivious, didn't know even what sickle cell was. So not only was I the head of year, but I had like students coming to me who had sickle cell. I was constantly in debates with teachers about whether or not they should take their coat off and things like this. And it's like, are you not understanding the impact of what you're like? These young people cannot even learn in this environment, because this environment is not even conducive to their well-being, let alone education. So yeah, it was quite difficult. And I think for me, I'm kind of like a solutions orientated person. So it's like, I see a problem, even if I'm not directly impacted by that, but I am, because I have a trait, but also This is my brothers and sisters.
Yep.
So what am I doing about it? And that's what kind of took me on a journey of, okay, cool. I might not be able to change your status, but what can I do to aid your life and the longevity of what it is that you're, what you're going through? How can I create awareness about what that looks like? Because it impacts you in so many different areas, and areas that I don't have to think about. I don't have to worry about extortionate travel insurance. I don't have to worry about not being able to go into work one day. I don't have to worry about not being able to do shopping or not being able to get a disability badge, or, there's just so much things that it impacts, which obviously
Yeah.
But when I started digging deep, I was like, nah, there's injustice going on.
Got to do something.
Yeah.
Got to do something. I love that. I love that you just can see what's happening and you want to make a difference and want to make a change. And that's probably why I'm just like, drawn to your energy and everything, because I think when people just make that choice for themselves, you can tell when it's genuine, and that means that you're not going to take no nonsense either. If you want to make a change, you're going to make sure that you can make that change and you can make that difference. So you started working with the NHSBT, which is when I met you. And I've said this, as I said, you're a no-nonsense person. I've had a lot of communication and, various things with the NHS blood and transplant, and trying to encourage people to donate blood. And I don't want to steer away from the fact, which is, you've talked about your aunt. She needed a blood transfusion and it ultimately saved her life. I've been in that situation. I know lots of people that you probably know from the sickle cell community. We've all been there where it's been life and death, and we've needed blood in order to, have a fighting chance. Not just that, but people living with sickle cell require blood transfusions every, month or thereabouts in order to kind of lead as good a quality of life as possible and to survive. Yeah. Right? So knowing that, and knowing that there's one organisation in the UK that controls all of the blood, essentially. How do you go in wanting to help, and how do you make a difference? Like, how do you do that?
I mean, first of all, I just ask a lot of questions. My mum's a teacher, my mum has been absolutely intrinsic to my character as a person, who I am today. Her and my stepdad, they were very much talkers. So if there was a situation going on and my mum wasn't happy, she would talk me through why she wasn't happy. So there would always be explanations and levels of understanding. And if I don't understand something, she would present that information to me in another way or another format in order to help me gain clarity. So I'm very hot on clarity and communication, information and receipts. Okay? My receipt game is very strong. So initially it was, I wanted to understand where NHS blood and transplant were actually situated in order to help people, in order to support people. And then I started seeing a bit of gaps. I started seeing a bit of holes, and then it was solutions and suggestions. And then, for me, it was like, okay, well, some people are going to be able to resonate with yourself and your story who have sickle cell, but as someone who can donate blood, my story is also powerful as well, in a sense of I can actually say to other people, look, I can do this with you. Let's do this together. And I'm petrified of needles. Like, I've had therapy for my fear of needles. Like, I don't, mate.
Was there something that made you scared of them, like that you remember?
Yes.
Or what, you had like a bad experience?
I was very young, grew up in Stockwell. Playing on the monkey bars, someone pushed me, I fell off, I cracked one of my teeth. So I had to go and get...
You're like a boisterous child, and
listen, Mados, I'm adventurous. So, well, not as much now, but when I was younger, I was adventurous, and I liked to just, ramp and play, and it wasn't like now where everything is phone. We were outside, and we were enjoying life, and it was a lot safer back then, so we could do those things. And I think I broke my tooth, and I went to the dentist, and it didn't help that my stepdad was ramping and playing, saying they're going to take pliers and take out my teeth. And all them you know, people like to ramp too much in it. He probably won't even remember that, but me remember.
You remember it. It's one of the things that we remember, you know.
Mate. So when I went to the dentist, they did whatever they needed to do, and I had an injection. And the nib of the needle broke in my mouth, and I'm saying I can feel something along here.
Still?
Well, not now, obviously.
But you could at the time.
Yeah, I could feel something at the time, and I was like, no, Mum, there's still something there. They gave me, is it a little purple thing or whatever to drink and pour out or whatever. And I was like, no, there's something still there. And eventually my mum was like, look, if she's saying there's something there, you just need to look. And they got a tweezer and they took it out.
Okay, so and you know what? Genuine fear.
Oh,
because I know that some people are like, no, I'm scared of needles, or I couldn't do it, or no. From that day, I mean, at school, they had to threaten to call my mum when I was having BCG or when I was having anything. It would be like, we're going to call your mum. And because my mum's a teacher, getting my mum out of school, you already know how that story is. So, I know how that works.
Yeah.
So a genuine fear of needles, but you still donate blood.
Absolutely.
And you guys, like, you did something that was so, I have to say, it was just like change making. Like, literally, you got the most amount of black people to donate blood, which took place in London. So not only is this you got the community involved. How do you rally everyone?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy because unfortunately in this day and age, people want to buy in. They want to feel like if it doesn't impact them, they don't have to worry about it. But that's not how the world works. So I think for myself, for Chanel, for Emmanuel and for Kenny at the time.
And those are everyone, Sickle Cell Warriors who were involved in that process.
So they all had sickle cell and I've got trait, so that's how we were all connected. We kind of went under like Sickle Cell Network because we used to network with a lot of people. But it was kind of like we just have to reach out to all of our networks. And then me working in media, I had a lot of different channels and a lot of different people and a lot of different organizations that I could actually reach out to and say, look, we're doing this thing, can you help us to promote it? So Wall of Comedy, they were behind us all the way. They, you know, even provided us with camera ops and people to be able to film it. We also did some work with Word on the Curb, who filmed the first one. Actually, they filmed me giving blood for the first time.
I remember that video.
But I had the numbing cream on both my arms, and it wasn't a joke.
Listen, serious, you know, but you did it.
Yeah, I had to.
You did it.
For me, I don't feel as though I had choices because I get to live every day. I don't have to worry about whether or not, I mean, outside of opening up my eyes every day, as not everyone has to think about that, but I don't have to think about where blood is coming from. I don't have to regulate the blood in my body. My blood doesn't automatically create sickled cells. It doesn't. That's not what my functionality does. So if I can sit down for 6 minutes and try to conquer my fear for greater cause so 3 people can live, what is it that is stopping me from doing that? Oh, just the fact that it's not my problem. I just don't feel like that's a good enough excuse.
It isn't. So knowing that and working within an industry which has its public knowledge that there, you know, racism, bullying, they've been taken to tribunal, there's been a lot of reports, cases to prove that this system, well, there's systemic racism, that there's a lot of things that go on, like many systems in the UK. But you having that passion, you having that drive to, you know, save 3 people's lives every time you donate blood, and having to work under an umbrella of a system that has been accused of this, like, first of all, how does that feel? How do you navigate that space? And what do you think we can do?
Yeah. Navigating the space is very difficult. And the reason why it's difficult is because you're fighting an uphill battle. You've got people on one side saying that they want to help you and they want to support you and they want to do these things. But then when it comes to the actual production of it, like the actual blood drives, there's so many things that take place that are beyond our control that have an impact on whether or not people donate again. You know, there's not as much black nurses and staff that can actually come and support these blood drives. So unfortunately, we've got a lot of people who might not necessarily understand it. They didn't really like our style of doing things. They didn't like the music. They wanted it to be quiet. They wanted it to be clinical. We wanted a bashment. Like it wasn't, anything that we do, there's music, food and dancing.
We know that.
That's the standard. So if we're doing a blood drive, that's the minimum that we're going to be dealing with. We're not dealing with anything less than. And yeah, we just came up with a lot of people who just wasn't comfortable with that. And that's okay. You don't have to be comfortable. This is what we're going to do. And this is what we were fighting to do. We wasn't given any funding. We wasn't given any support. A lot of the stuff, you know, we did ourselves. Even, I think it was the second blood drive that we did. It was called the Summer of Saving Lives. Myself, and big shout outs to my sister, Melissa Thermidor, who at the time worked with NHS in the social department. She was a social lead. We contacted Supermalt. We contacted a number of different people. We got sponsorships for different things to try and just get people in a place where they felt comfortable and they felt like, yeah, this is something that I could actually do again. I think in total, I feel like we did 4 or 5. I can't remember.
You did many though. Like,
did quite
over
a lot.
period of time, you guys. It's like, and you know, the thing that I loved was that you worked together, because I feel like, you know, there's strength in numbers, power in unity, and that's something that in a lot of areas I feel like we don't get sometimes. But I feel like in this space, it really helps to have everybody on board for kind of like one thing that we need to achieve. It was just powerful.
Yeah.
So how do we then, because my feeling towards it, especially when like there's been a lot of things that have come out publicly relating to NHS and stuff like that, but also knowing that it's like you want to fight the system, and if you know that you go to a shop and this shop don't treat people right, we're just going to boycott the shop. But we can't boycott the shop because we need the shop to survive. We need
the shop to survive.
And our brothers and sisters need the shop to survive. But you do have, like, I speak to a lot of people about why they don't donate blood and, you know, the reasons for that. And some people, especially more now, want to say, oh, the people that are racist, the this, the that. But when I'm in hospital on death's door and need a blood transfusion, that's not going to help me. So how do, in your opinion, do you think we, despite knowing that, encourage our, you know, more black people, our brothers and sisters to do more? Like, what would you say to them?
I think it's a difficult terrain to navigate. There's so many different variables when it comes to NHS blood and transplant and us as black people. I think that first and foremost, we have to accept the fact that not everyone is in a position to support and help us. That once you swallow that pill, then you kind of start looking at, okay, cool, outside of that, what else can I do? I think that people need to start coming away from, I need to do things that benefit me. And once you actually understand that concept of community and how you're going to support each other, you're automatically going to grow. It's not possible for you to be stagnant because each one reach one. You know what I mean? It's you know, since working in the sickle cell space, I've met so many amazing people like yourself. I've encouraged other people to come out and to actually even just look at what's happening. Even if you don't want to donate blood at that point, just come and look at the process. Just see how quick it is, see how easy it is. You know, to see Manny holding up 13 units of blood, and that's what he has to have every 5 weeks. How can I just be living my own life and not even think about how he's going to get that? We also got to look at ethnically matched blood, and people don't understand that. They try to spin that for, you know, their own racist endeavors or what have you. But it's like if you have a kidney or if you have a transplant, an organ transplant, you have to have your closest next of kin to be able to be a match. And blood is no different. So it's not like we're trying to be, you know, separate. We're trying to segregate people. No, we're trying to say we need to get things that are as close as possible in order for that to function in the way that it was supposed to function. People can do a lot more research. There's so many people who know about sickle cell, but they don't really understand the impact of it. So if you ask someone what actually is sickle cell, they'll be able to say, oh, they know what it is. But they can't actually tell you exactly how it impacts you or how it impacts other people.
And with you saying that, you know, for people to have a better understanding of like sickle cell, and of course you've kind of had to take that journey yourself, do you see that things are changing? Do you see progress? Like in the areas that you've been in, you've been encouraging more of our community to donate blood for years now. Do you see the progress? Do you see the change? Does it make you feel positive, like moving forward?
Excuse me. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen a lot of organisations actually take up the mantle. A lot of people will tell you that I've encouraged them to actually start thinking about this. You've got organisations like Mentivity. They actually did a blood drive. You know, ACLT did something with Steve-O, the madman. And a lot of people are now actually starting to take more ownership of it. Obviously, we still have to go through NHS blood and transplant, which is quite difficult. But I think that the more we start having these conversations and the more we actually start to understand the connection between blood donation and sickle cell, I think that's what needs to be honed in a bit more on. People don't understand the differences between SS and SC. They don't understand the probabilities. I mean, even for myself, asking someone on a first date, if, you know, what's your genotype, that is a first date question for me. And it has to be, because I have to dilute it as much as possible. I can't, knowing that this is what I have and that it was a gift that was given to me, I can't knowingly pass this on to my child. And then, you know, some people don't, obviously they don't know. And back in the day, obviously I told you, I got my genotype when I was 11. So our generation, our age group, we wasn't getting tested back then. You know, a lot more tests are being done now, and that's great, but it's about understanding that I can do something to increase life, and that's what I need to do. So yeah, I think people can register to donate blood. It is difficult. Sometimes appointments get cancelled. Sometimes, you know, these things happen, but it shouldn't be well, I tried and that's it. No, you got to keep trying. Because there's things that I've been trying to do that's taken me 6 and 7 years, and I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue to try and to make a difference, because that's intrinsically the makeup of my DNA and who I am.
I just have to say thank you, like just from my heart.
Why?
Because there's, you know, I'm someone that lives with sickle cell, and like you're saying, you know, we're talking about people that don't live with this condition, perhaps don't even carry the gene, it doesn't impact them in any way, so they feel like it doesn't concern them. And I meet so many people like that, having to have conversations to try and encourage people to donate blood, and hearing people say things like, oh, well, I don't care, or it doesn't bother me. You know, every time I get a negative comment, and I don't know if this is the same for other people, you know, that do what I do, work with the NHS and try and encourage people to donate blood, that hear these responses, it hits hard. It really hits hard. And I think that's one of the things that, even with, you know, certain of these companies getting people involved, like to them it's like, okay, well, let's just get some people with sickle cell to share their stories. Like, it's just, you know, they'll want to be on the news, they'll want to be doing this. But I am, and I know it's bad, but sometimes like the story comes out and you're in the comments, oh, it's all a lie, it's all a fake, they want black blood, they're growing people. It doesn't, you know, every time we have to read something like that, it hurts. So to know that in this world that we're in, that we're trying to navigate, there are people like you that do what you can. You don't have to do it. You weren't forced to do it. You chose to do it. Well, you'd have to do it. In fact, even just the fact that you said that.
No, I have to do it. This is who I am. I don't have that choice.
I just wish we need more of you in the world, and I appreciate this, you one that's in front of me right now.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. I've got so much love for you.
Same, but I do want to say as well that I want you to understand the difference between people's projections and the lack of awareness and accountability, because it does make a difference. NHS Blood and Transplant have lacked taking accountability for so many deaths, so many things, and people don't have a way to shift and navigate all of that information. We've had countless medical atrocities against our people. People are not taking accountability for that. And I'm not saying I'm validating their comments, because I'm not, but I understand why people are skeptical, and I understand why they find it very difficult to do something, because they don't know where their blood is going. They don't know whether or not it's actually going to the recipients that they want it to go to. So I don't want to skirt over that part of it. But the fact of the matter is, these things are not true, and it is difficult, it is damaging, and it is hurtful. But I have made a promise to do everything that I can in my power to ensure that I continue to do this. I'm on a bit of a hiatus at the moment, because I want to live and bond down Babylon every day.
And you deserve it.
Yes,
You're giving them a bit of a break.
I give them a break, and I'm soon forward. So, but yeah, I think that the journey that you have all been on, your individual journeys, because that's another issue as well. This blanket sickle cell stuff is just, there are a lot of differences in the sickle cell community, and people do things differently, and that's okay. We can still do things together even if we do things differently. But for me to know that I have the opportunity to live life abundantly without having to have certain pressures that you guys have, I don't see it as a choice to ensure that people make the right decision where this is concerned. And there will be more things in the future. Hopefully next year I'm looking to do a blood drive. I'd like to do a blood drive next year.
That was my next question. What have you got planned for,
so I would like to do a blood drive next year. There's quite a few things that, a few pies that my hand is in at the moment, and I have to put on my armor to talk to them, man. It's tiring. I put myself through a year of therapy off of direct correlation from my experiences as a part-time bank member of staff for increasing black blood. I had to put myself through a year of therapy every week. So I was going to therapy every single week, sometimes 2 hours, based off the experiences and the things that I had to deal with where NHS Blood and Transplant are concerned. And, my lived experience has an impact on how passionate I am. And you look at the boards and you look at all of these people who don't reflect you, making these decisions about yourself. And I have to put in my little 2 pence and tell them where I think that the gaps are and where I think they can benefit from suggestions. But outside of that, I still talk about sickle cell. I still champion you guys, and I still champion blood donation. I myself can't donate anymore because my trait wasn't allowing my blood to be filtered, which was sad. But, I still...
You're still doing the work.
Have to.
You're still doing the work.
Till I die.
I appreciate you. Before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
I wanted to understand how you motivate yourself, what conversation do you have with yourself to when you wake up each day and you just know, okay, this might not be the best day today, or how do you motivate yourself to keep going? Because you talk about me and stuff that I'm doing, but as I said, I quite maybe selfishly don't have to worry about certain things. What's that conversation with Jen?
I laughed because this morning, so sometimes I do things to just add humour to the way that I'm feeling. And this morning in particular, I was just, the way that I got out the bed like this, and just looked like I didn't want to leave, but it's a two-pronged approach. Some of it is, having conversations like this, knowing that there are people like you in the world that are rooting for me and that are supporting me to be able to keep going to do what it is that I do. There's a lot of that motivates me. There's also, I think a lot about the next generation, and you know, just knowing that everything that I've been through, there's another child that's going to be born and they're going to have to go through the same things. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I really don't want that. And if I can do even a small thing that would make a difference, again, that's something that keeps me going. That's what motivated me to write the books. That's what motivates me to kind of, you know, have these conversations with you. As much as it's effort, it's energy, I'm, you know, you're pouring into me. For me to hear all the things that you're doing that help us, it gives me a drive and motivation. But if I'm being honest, there are days where I just don't. I also really lean in heavily to how I'm feeling and allow myself to feel that feeling. Yeah. I'm kind to myself. If I wake up and, you know, I'm in pain, I'm still tired, because a lot of the times, you know, fatigue is a big thing. We wake up, I feel like I haven't even slept. I'm kind enough to myself to be like, you know what, babe, you probably just need to rest today. And I used to feel guilty about that, but I don't anymore, because I know that if my cup's not full, I can't do this. I can't pour into people. I can't do all the things that I want to do. So I've just learnt to have that balance. I think of the days when I can push myself, I will. The days that I can't, I just won't. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's for anybody that, you know, has sickle cell, that lives with sickle cell. On the days where you can't, just be so very kind to yourself. Like, you deserve to not have to sometimes. Yeah, that's it. That's just my thing.
No, that's good to know. But it's encouraging, very encouraging.
Thank you. I just want to thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. And again, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much. And for everybody who is at home wondering how they can donate blood, www.blood.co.uk. Make sure you go and register. I'm not sure when myself or anybody else will be putting on blood drives, but there's a lot of information out there. There's some great organisations that you can go follow. Black Blood Matters, The Sound of Sickle, Unsickle My Cells, We Are Not the Same, Sickle Can, you know, ACLT. There's a whole host of different organisations that you can get information from. So don't sit down and do nothing. Do something.
Do something. You've been told, guys. Been told. Thanks, sis.